Chapter 6. Overcoming Fear.
Overcoming fear is a process that requires understanding, patience, and consistent effort. By learning and applying different techniques, individuals can manage, reduce, and even transform fear, empowering themselves to lead fuller lives. In this chapter, we'll explore effective techniques for overcoming fear, including cognitive behavioral therapy (CBT), mindfulness, meditation, and exposure therapy, with detailed explanations and real-world examples.
Techniques for managing and reducing fear.
Managing and reducing fear can be approached through various techniques that address both the physical and psychological aspects of fear. These strategies are helpful for controlling fear responses in the moment, as well as reducing overall anxiety over time.
1. Deep breathing and grounding techniques.
Deep breathing helps to calm the body's physiological response to fear by slowing the heart rate and releasing muscle tension. Grounding techniques, such as focusing on sensory details around you, help distract the mind from fearful thoughts. Example of deep breathing. Suppose someone has a fear of flying and feels anxiety rise when boarding a plane. Using the 4-7-8 breathing technique, inhale for 4 seconds, hold for 7, and exhale for 8, can help reduce immediate panic symptoms by relaxing the body. Example of grounding. For someone with social anxiety entering a crowded room, grounding techniques like focusing on the feel of an object in their hand or counting objects of a certain color around them can help take their mind off their fear.
2. Positive visualization.
Visualization techniques help individuals imagine themselves succeeding in the situations that usually trigger fear. This technique trains the mind to associate those scenarios with positive outcomes rather than dread. Example: an individual with a fear of public speaking might visualize themselves giving a successful presentation, imagining a confident posture, a clear voice, and positive audience reactions. This visualization can help them reframe the experience and reduce anticipatory anxiety.
3. Reframing negative thoughts.
Fear often arises from negative thought patterns, such as catastrophizing or assuming the worst will happen. Reframing these thoughts can help individuals replace fearful expectations with realistic, balanced perspectives. Example: a student fearing failure on a big exam might have the thought, "If I fail, I'll never succeed." Reframing this thought to, "Even if I don't do well, I can learn from this experience and improve," helps reduce anxiety by focusing on growth instead of doom.
Cognitive behavioral therapy (CBT) for fear.
Cognitive behavioral therapy (CBT) is one of the most widely used methods for addressing and overcoming fear. CBT works by helping individuals identify and change thought patterns that lead to fear and anxiety. CBT is often used to address specific fears, such as phobias, as well as general anxiety and irrational fears.
Core components of CBT for fear.
1. Identifying and challenging negative thoughts. In CBT, individuals learn to recognize negative thoughts that contribute to their fear. Once identified, these thoughts are analyzed and challenged to determine if they are accurate or distorted. Example: someone with a fear of rejection in social situations might have the thought, "People will think I'm boring." CBT helps them question this belief by examining evidence that contradicts it, leading them to realize it may be an exaggerated assumption. 2. Cognitive restructuring. Cognitive restructuring is the process of replacing negative thoughts with more realistic, balanced thoughts. This technique helps people see their fears from a more rational perspective. Example: for someone with a fear of heights, cognitive restructuring might involve reminding themselves of the safety measures in place when they're in high places, helping them feel more secure. 3. Behavioral activation. CBT encourages people to gradually face their fears through controlled exposure to feared situations, also known as behavioral activation. By confronting fears in manageable steps, individuals become desensitized and more comfortable over time. Example: for someone with a fear of driving, CBT may begin with sitting in a parked car, then progressing to short drives on familiar routes, and eventually building up to longer, more challenging drives.
CBT in practice.
CBT is particularly effective for treating phobias and anxiety disorders. For example, individuals with agoraphobia, fear of open or crowded spaces, may start by identifying thoughts that trigger their fear, such as if I go outside, something bad will happen. Through cognitive restructuring, they learn to replace these thoughts with more positive beliefs like I've been outside many times safely. Paired with gradual exposure, CBT can lead to a significant reduction in fear responses.
Mindfulness, meditation, and exposure therapy.
Mindfulness, meditation, and exposure therapy are additional techniques that can help individuals overcome fear by focusing on the present moment, reducing emotional reactivity, and confronting fear-inducing stimuli directly.
Mindfulness and meditation.
Mindfulness involves paying attention to the present moment without judgment, which helps reduce the power of fear by creating distance between the individual and their fearful thoughts. Meditation, specifically mindfulness meditation, helps individuals become aware of their thoughts and emotions without becoming overwhelmed by them. Example of mindfulness for fear: a person with health anxiety, fear of illness, can practice mindfulness to observe fearful thoughts, such as what if I get sick, without reacting or spiraling into worrying. This allows them to experience the thought without letting it control their emotions. Example of meditation for fear: someone with performance anxiety can use mindfulness meditation to calm their mind and focus on their breath before an important presentation. This can prevent anxiety from escalating by keeping their attention grounded in the present moment rather than worrying about future judgment.
Exposure therapy.
Exposure therapy is a highly effective method for treating fears by gradually exposing individuals to the objects or situations that trigger their fear, helping them build tolerance and confidence over time. This technique is commonly used in CBT, but can be practiced separately as well. 1. Gradual exposure. This method involves starting with less intense exposures and gradually increasing the difficulty as the individual becomes more comfortable. Example: a person with a fear of dogs may begin by looking at pictures of dogs, then observing a dog from a distance, then standing closer to a calm dog, and finally, petting a dog. Over time, they become more comfortable around dogs and their fear decreases. 2. Systematic desensitization. This is a specific type of exposure therapy that combines gradual exposure with relaxation techniques, helping individuals feel calm as they face their fears. Example: someone afraid of elevators might start with relaxation exercises, then gradually approach an elevator, eventually working up to riding a few floors at a time. Practicing relaxation throughout the process helps them feel in control and reduces their fear response.
Virtual reality VR and exposure therapy.
In recent years, virtual reality has been used as a safe and controlled environment for exposure therapy. VR allows individuals to face simulated situations, such as flying on an airplane or speaking in front of an audience, which can be especially useful for those hesitant to face real-world exposure initially. Example of VR exposure therapy: a person with a fear of heights might use VR to experience standing on a high balcony or a tall bridge. The virtual environment offers a sense of realism that activates the fear response, allowing them to practice managing their reactions in a controlled setting.
Examples of success with fear reduction techniques.
1. Overcoming fear of public speaking. A young professional with intense anxiety about public speaking uses CBT to challenge her negative thoughts. For example, I'll embarrass myself, replaces them with more positive thoughts. For example, I'm prepared and knowledgeable, and practices exposure by speaking in front of small groups. Pairing CBT with mindfulness meditation before each practice session helps her stay calm. Over time, she successfully delivers a major presentation at work. 2. Addressing fear of flying. A person who avoids flying due to fear begins with mindfulness exercises to calm pre-flight anxiety. They use exposure therapy by taking short flights while practicing deep breathing techniques. As they repeat these flights, their fear gradually subsides, allowing them to travel more freely. 3. Reducing social anxiety. An individual with social anxiety uses CBT to identify and reframe thoughts like "people will think I'm awkward," practicing exposure by attending small social gatherings and using grounding techniques. They slowly build comfort. Meditation helps reduce overall stress, leading to increased confidence and social interactions.
Conclusion.
Managing and overcoming fear is a gradual journey that requires self-compassion, consistency, and often the support of therapeutic techniques like CBT, mindfulness, meditation, and exposure therapy. These methods allow individuals to understand and transform their fears, replacing avoidance and anxiety with confidence and resilience. By building these skills, people can approach life's challenges with a sense of calm and empowerment, rather than being held back by fear.